How can you identify angles formed by parallel lines and a transversal? We're going to answer this question through the video. I just want to remind you that this is for task 6.8, and that should be the title up at the top of your paper. And don't forget to include the task description. Here's a reminder of how your notes should be set up for this video, and this should be video title number 2 for your notes. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. You probably were a little bit confused by the video title, but you do know what parallel lines are, you just don't know what a transversal is. So let's discuss what a transversal is. A transversal is a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two distinct points. The diagram shows the 8 angles formed by a transversal T and two lines L and M. And these two lines are actually parallel to each other, and here is our transversal line. And if you look at these different numbers represent the different angles, and there's going to be different names describing the angle pairs. There's actually pairs of 8 angles, and they all have special names as suggested by their positions. And there also will be some rules that go along with those names, like either they'll be congruent to each other, that means they'll be the same measurement, or they might be supplementary to each other. That means if you add them together, you'll get 180 degrees. I want to go ahead and give you a vocabulary tip. These symbols indicate that lines A and B are parallel. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that for you on line L and M. So if we draw arrows on them, we are notating that they are parallel lines. Okay, here's our first pair of angles that have a special name. Angle 1 and angle 2 are alternate interior angles. So notice that, let me go ahead and describe to you what I mean by alternate interior, and then you're also going to see alternate exterior. So if you look on the inside of the two parallel lines, then we're talking about interior. And if you look on the outside, and I'll go ahead and just shade it off in black, if you look on the outside of the two parallel lines, that's actually the exterior, and I'll show you that in the next slide. And now let's talk about what the alternate means. That means that we have them on opposite sides of the transversal. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. And angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. Alternate interior angles are congruent to each other. And if you want to go ahead and write a little side note, you could say that they have, oops, I pushed a button on accident. They have the same angle measurement. So if you know that, that can really come in handy when looking at polygons or looking at different examples that you might see in class, like on the Ready, Set, Go assignment or on a test or quiz. If you know that they're alternate interior angles, then you can say that they have the same measurement and they're congruent. Okay, here we have alternate exterior angles. So just a reminder, last slide we were talking about the interior part of the angles, and now we're talking about the exterior. So we're talking about everything on the outside of the two parallel lines. And now let's talk about these special pair of angles. Angle 5 and angle 7 are alternate exterior angles. Notice they're on the outside of the parallel lines and they're on different sides of the transversal. And the same thing goes for angle 6 and angle 7. They are also alternate exterior angles. They are on the outside of the parallel lines, which is why we say exterior. And they're also on the opposite side of transversal, which is why we say alternate. Now we got to figure out now we have to say what's true. Let's say what's true about these angles. So angle 6 is congruent to angle 7. This is true since they are alternate exterior angles. And the same thing goes for angle 5 and 8. Angle 5 is congruent to angle 8 because they're alternate exterior angles. So once again, you can say that these angles are congruent to each other, which means they have the same angle measurement. Now let's talk about same side interior angles. They are going to be called same side because they're on the same side because they're on the same side of the transversal, Notice angle 1 is with angle 4 and angle 3 is with angle 2. And then also they're called interior because they're on the inside of the parallel lines. So this is same side interior. Now let's talk about what statement is true about same side interior angles. Same side interior angles have the same, or excuse me, are supplementary to each other. So let's go ahead and write a statement that shows that this is true. Angle 1 plus the measurement of angle 4 is going to equal 180 since they are supplementary. Write that in. Supplementary to each other. Okay, there we go. They're supplementary to each other. So now let's take a look at the other two angle pairs. These are same side interior angles. They're inside and they're on the same side of the transversal. So angle 2 plus angle 3 is going to equal 180 degrees since they're supplementary to each other. This is true because they are same side interior angles. Okay, so what about when we have same side exterior angles instead of interior angles? Remember, when we say exterior, we're talking about outside of the parallel lines, and same side, same side means that they're on the same side of transversal. So I went ahead and color coded the angles for you so it's easier to recognize. So what we're saying is that when we have same side exterior angles, it would be angle 5 and angle 7 are same side exterior, and angle 6 and angle 8 are also same side exterior angles. That's because they're on the same side of transversal and they're on the outside of the parallel lines. And now if you look to the left of the screen, I have another diagram for you that shows that when you have same side exterior angles, they are going to be supplementary to each other, which means they equal 180. So I'm going to go ahead and write that here, supplementary. So of course, if they were complementary, we would say 90 degrees. But since they're supplementary, we're saying 180 degrees. So angle B, which is here, and angle Z are same side exterior, and they're going to equal 180 degrees. And notice if I take out the B and put it here, and then take out the Z and put it here, it creates that 180 degree angle that I've been talking about. And then the same thing for angle A and angle Y. They are same side exterior angles, so they're supplementary to each other, which means you can add them up, they equal 180. And if you take angle A and you add it to angle Y, you can draw a semicircle around and notice that they are 180 degrees. So same side exterior angles and same side interior angles are supplementary to each other as angle pairs. Okay, we're almost done. Now we need to talk about some other angles called corresponding angles. So for corresponding angles, they're going to be congruent angles, but let's go ahead and list all of the corresponding angle pairs. One thing that helps us to know when angles are corresponding is if you can draw the same angle over and over again. So angle 1 and angle 7 are corresponding angles. If I draw this for angle 6 and angle 2, I can also notate that angle 6 and angle 2 are corresponding angles, and all corresponding angles are congruent to each other. So that goes the same thing for angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. Let's see if we can list some other pairs here. Let me go ahead and get some different colors too. We can also see that angle 3, if I draw it there, then I can also draw the same thing for angle 8. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 8. Let's get green up in here. And then if we look here, we can also see that, oh, actually, I'll use the same color here. We'll use black. Angle 5, if I draw that angle, I could draw the same angle and have angle 4. So that means that angle 5 is congruent to angle 4. So these are all of our corresponding angles looking at these two parallel lines along with the transversal. Now we've completed all the different type of angle pairs that you can have. There's also vertical angles in here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you vertical angles would be 5 and 3, which are equal to each other, and then 1 and 6. Angle 4 and 8 and 2 and 7 are vertical angles, but that's a review because we've already discussed vertical angles. Now that we know all these angle pairs, let's combine all that information to solve a few examples. Make sure you copy down the example before you follow along with me. And for this example, we are going to find all angle measurements and state the proper name to justify our answers. I'm actually going to help you find all the angle measurements, and I will say what properties we are using. However, you will need to write down those property names on your own. So let's take a look at the angle that they gave us. They gave us a 50-degree angle right here. So now we can go ahead and use whatever information we know about the different types of angle pairs with parallel lines and transversals to help us find out what the other angle measurements are. If we know that this angle is equal to 50 degrees, then we can also figure out that angle 8 is equal to 50 degrees, and that is by vertical angles. Since I can draw this angle to be 50 degrees and I can draw the same angle down here, angle 1 is also going to equal 50 degrees. And since angle 1 is a vertical angle with angle 5 is also going to equal 50 degrees. And now let's go ahead and find some other angle measurements. Here we have angle 1 and angle 3 are going to be our same side interior angles. And remember, those are supplementary to each other. So angle 3 is going to equal 130 degrees. Because if I combine angle 1 and angle 3, I'll get 180 degrees. Angle 50 and angle 2 are also supplementary to each other because they're same side interior angles. So angle 2 is going to equal 130 degrees as well. And you can see here that angle 2, if I draw it, sorry, it's kind of getting messy with the different colors, but angle 2 and angle 3, I can draw the same angle. They're corresponding angles, which means they're congruent to each other. So we should get 130 for each. And if you look at angle, angle 3 and angle 4 are going to be vertical angles. So angle 4 should also equal 150 degrees. I made a small mistake, not 150. I was like, that doesn't sound right. It should be, oh man, it's going to take away everything. Okay, let me just cross it off. It shouldn't be 150, it should be 130. Okay, you should have caught that mistake right there. Since they're vertical angles, it's going to be 130 degrees. And then let's also take a look at, okay, so that just leaves angle 7 and angle 6. So how do we find out those measurements? Well, if we remember that angle 7 and angle 1 are going to be same side exterior angles. Anytime you have same side exterior, they're also supplementary. So 7 is going to be 180 minus 50, which is 130 degrees. And angle 6 and angle 7 are going to be same side. But if you look at angle 6, you can also see that it is same side exterior with angle 3. So they're going to be supplementary to each other. So if I subtract 180 from 130, I would get angle 6 to be 50 degrees. Okay. So I went ahead and labeled the angle pairs, and I helped you find the angle measurements, and I also told you what the different the corresponding ways to justify our angles were, as the proper names to justify our answers were. So go ahead and write down all the angles and their measurements, and write down the proper name to justify all our answers. Okay, let's take a look at one more example. Here, our picture is not so clear as to what is the parallel line and transversal right away. And you notice that we do have a polygon involved, a triangle. But if I extend some lines, you might be able to see the picture clearly. Here we have these two parallel lines right here. How do you know they're parallel? They're notated by the arrows. So then this line that cuts through the two parallel lines is our transversal. So if you kind of rotate the picture to the side, then you can see the way to look at the different types of angles to help us figure out what the value of y is in the diagram at the left. So since we have angle 7, or excuse me, this angle here is 70 degrees, and I could draw the same angle here. Those are going to be corresponding angles. So angle X is equal to 70 degrees. And I can write that here on the picture, 70 degrees. And now if I go ahead, I'm going to show you something where you, oh, actually, let's go ahead and make sure we use the proper names. I just saw one other thing we can try to do. Here we have angle 50, and we have this angle up here. These are going to be Oh, this is another transversal right here across the parallel lines as well. So there's two transversals. And this angle measurement right here, since we have angle 50 here and this angle here, and we're inside the parallel lines, they are alternate interior angles. So this is also going to be 50 degrees. And we know that if you add 50 plus 70 degrees in a triangle plus a y, that's going to equal 180 degrees. So now it can help us find our y. And if we go ahead and add these two together and then subtract them from 180, we'll get y to equal 60 degrees. So let me talk through again because I kind of confused you. I might have confused you. We have two parallel lines, one here and one here, and then we also have two transversals. We have one here that's cutting the two parallel lines, and we also have one here that cuts the two parallel lines. We first noticed that we had and this angle and this angle were corresponding angles, so they were congruent to each other, so we wrote that as x equals 70. Then we realized that now that we have this angle measurement and this angle measurement, we can go ahead and see that they are alternate interior angles and they're congruent to each other. So this is angle 50 as well. And then we know by the angle addition postulate that all three angles in a triangle will sum up to equal 180 degrees. So then we made a statement and solved for y to get y equals 60. So we actually found the value of x and of y in the diagram. Please make sure you bring all your questions to class.